I'm joined by Hazel and Elitsa, founders of Betwixt and the company Mind Monsters. Would it be possible if you could quickly introduce yourselves and just say a little bit about what you're working on?
Sure. My name's Hazel. I am an ex-athlete. I was a boxer and kickboxer for 10 years. But through a little bit too much training, I burnt out and found myself in a therapist's office. And the change it made to my life inspired me to qualify as a therapist. I'm a cognitive hypnotherapist. And since then, I've been working in that field. Ellie and I met about 2 years ago and started making this game, which is going through a number of iterations. I'll let Ellie introduce herself now.
Sure. I am a social entrepreneur and science writer in mental health. I left a business about 3 years ago to start studying mental health, and I came across the untapped potential of narrative and games to make a difference in helping us live better lives. And that's when I met Hazel by chance, and we started on this journey together.
Awesome. So you joined together to create this game, this product, which is going by the name of Betwixt. Can you say a little bit more about how that works?
Yeah, I mean, something that Ellie and I had in common from the beginning, which got us going on this, is this fascination we have with the intersection of storytelling, in particular immersive and fantastical storytelling and metaphor and therapeutic change. And so we were excited about the idea of building a game, or an app that plays like a game, which will help people build mental resilience without feeling like they're using a mental health app. Because one of the main problems with mental health apps out there at the moment is, although they have proven themselves to have great effect on people in developer-led trials, in the real-world setting, they don't replicate those results for one simple reason, and that's that they don't engage their users fully. People drop out of the process. And really, we think that people drop out of the process because the information is great, but unless there's a way to hook you into it, in the same way that a brilliant book would hook you into reading it from cover to cover, or devouring it actually, it's really hard to maintain its consistency with a mental health process without the accountability that you'd get from an actual therapist. So what we wanted to do was build an app that delivers that same quality information, but in a way that feels exciting, as self-development should be, because it's fascinating. Your mind is fascinating. We wanted to make it feel that way.
And yeah, I mean, really, it's a bit hard to explain what Betwixt is, but it's a branching story with a Lord of the Rings type of feel to it that you play on your phone. You're also the main character, and as you travel through this strange fantasy world, you get to learn about yourself and learn skills taken from positive psychology, cognitive theory, and a range of therapy styles.
Awesome. So
all of this content is packaged up in a very interactive, immersive way, using your imagination and creativity, because that's the best way to learn. It's not only engaging, but it is the most effective way to learn.
Awesome. And when you're making a product like this, what does the development process look like? Like, what kind of stuff are you working on at the moment and have been recently?
The development process is so fun. We are working with an award-winning fantasy writer and interactive fiction specialist called Natalia Theodorodou. And he's just got an incredible mind. So what the development process mostly looks like for us is that we come up with an idea of the kinds of therapeutic benefit a certain act of the game needs to get. And we've got this overarching idea of the story. We then take that to Natalia, actually his name for us is Nassos, take it to Nassos, and he turns it into this wonderful story. And then there's a hell of a lot of back and forth and a lot of testing. So we've been testing over and over again and conducting in-depth user interviews to help our players get us to fine-tune the content, as they've taught us how to structure the story and the processes in a way that makes it easy to play and still engaging, which is, of course, the biggest challenge.
And you missed the step, because when we come up with the story, the script, essentially, then we have to figure out how to translate it into a digital environment that feels seamless and natural to the user. And the cool thing is that we have, so really the challenge here is that if you have a therapist or a real human being in front of you, they are able to adjust the questions that they ask you and see how you respond and just really know what they need to ask you. But when you're doing that in the game, it's really difficult because people are so different, and yet you need to come up with a process that will resonate and speak to most people, and make it sound natural, so people don't feel like they, the biggest problem of chatbots, for example, is that people don't trust them. They just feel too fake. And I think one of our biggest successes during our last testing was the number of people who told us that, I know I'm speaking with a machine, but hell, it feels real. It feels so real. So being able to touch people like that on such a personal level, I mean, that's just, wow. We did not expect it, but that's one of the things we've been the most proud of.
This was the thing that got us going on it in the first place, with the very first iteration of the game, which was extremely basic. And when people gave us that kind of feedback, which we believe is because the writing is good, we knew we were onto something, because this is, the future of AI, of course, is enormous. We aren't at the stage yet where we have, really anything particularly AI in our game. It's automated, not AI. But people are talking to Alexa about their problems. There are reports of people talking to Alexa about their problems and getting some kind of therapeutic benefit out of that, even though Alexa is just asking them what song they want to play. And so if people can do that with Alexa, then there is space for this. And we can create, what if we can really create a genuine healing sense of connection through an app? And if we can, that is potentially massive for improving mental health globally.
Well, looking then at the big picture, obviously, unfortunately, there is this huge mental health crisis, and there is often a lack of resources when it comes to building this resilience. What kind of long-term scope do you think products like, or stories and games like Betwixt can have in building that resilience at the right time, before it's too late and before people are talking to their Alexa?
We don't want to stop people talking to their Alexa, that's fine. But the most important thing is to get to people early, as you just said. That as a therapist, most of my clients come to me after they've already been struggling with their issue for something like 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 years. And by that point, it's really habitual, it's bedded in. It doesn't mean they can't improve, they can, but the work is tough then. It's tough on them, it's emotionally difficult. But as you know, I don't think you said that on camera, Ellie. That one of the stats we've looked at, which is amazing, is that children and adults with mental resilience skills are 50% less likely to develop a diagnosable mental health condition than those without. And the way to learn mental resilience skills, and this mental resilience is a big term, there's a lot that goes into that, but to learn these skills, the right kinds of belief systems, the right perspectives, the way to treat your emotions, the way to think about your thoughts, and the way to handle challenge. If you can learn about those techniques before you're in a crisis situation, then you have them in your toolbox, they're there. So this is what we think the future of mental health apps needs to be focused on: preventative care. And in order to be effective as something that people take up before they really feel a burning need to do it, it has to be fun. That's the simple fact of the matter, isn't it? People, if people would actually engage in something like this because they knew they should, then we'd all be, paragons of mental health perfection. And we aren't. because people don't do things just because they know they should.
Bringing it back to the level of the game, what is the kind of roadmap for what is left to be built in this? So I suppose, when will we be able to see this in public? When will people be able to access it? Sorry if that's $1 million question or something.
Yeah. Well, we did a very in-depth testing with about 50 people a few weeks ago, and it was super intense. We spoke to them for over an hour, so before the game, after the game, just trying really deeply to understand usage patterns, potential benefits, how they were getting on with the different therapeutic processes, the engagement levels, all of these things. And then from that feedback, we spent a few more weeks on development, developing especially more practical optional missions, as we call them. And the second biggest feedback point was adding a soundtrack to enhance the immersion in the game. So this is what we're working on right now, and we are almost ready. In about 2 weeks' time, we are going to run a bigger test with about 1,300 people who have signed up to our beta. And then that will give us the more quantitative data around usage, engagement, and kind of with a view of the roadmap and the features that we need to go on and build next.
Yeah, on top of that, in the background, while this is going on, we're also finishing the chapters. So we've run our test with 50% of the actual story so far to make it an easy amount for people to do, which means 4 acts. The acts take between 10 and 20 minutes each to play, and the missions happen in between the acts. So the missions are things like guided meditations, journaling tasks, and sort of mental exercises to try out new belief systems. So there are four stages in it at its current stage of evolution, but we are busy writing all the other acts to the end of the story. I would hope that we'll have the full story ready to go January next year. But that doesn't stop us putting it on the market before that, because what we have already is actually enough.
And then when it is on the market, who are you directly selling it to? Will it be to the end users or different intermediaries?
Possibly both. I mean, we're going to, in the next test, one of the things we're looking at is exactly how people would prefer to pay for it. We want to build a subscription model for the app. The users that are engaging best with the app from our testing so far are between sort of 25 and 40. And they are the people who are loving it the most are the people who have an active interest in developing their mental resilience and emotional health, and yet find what's out there at the moment boring. And there's quite a big, significant proportion of the population that's like that. And these people they play video games, they read fantasy fiction, they have active imaginations, and I can't remember where I was going with this. So those are the people we want to sell to on the subscription model. That's what I was going with this. But we're also looking at working with bodies. In the first instance, we're looking at working with a university sort of accommodation provider. But also this would be an easy thing for us to move into a corporate setting, because one of the things that it benefits the users with the most is a shared language to talk about the stuff that's hard to talk about. We have intentionally kept any diagnosis words or sort of psychological words out of the game itself, because this is not a game for people with a diagnosis of anxiety or depression or whatever. It's a game for anyone who wants to improve their mental resilience. And this means that we don't want people to feel like they should or shouldn't be using it. And we also don't want people to feel like they have to put themselves in boxes depending on their diagnosis, because we're all humans and we all struggle with the same stuff when it comes down to it. And the mental resilience tools that we're using in the game apply to anyone. So if we were going to take this into a corporate setting, it would be a fantastic way of bringing teams together, creating a new language that people within those teams can use to talk about stuff without feeling like they're going near stigmatized information that they just don't want to share.
Amazing. Very exciting. And I suppose one last question is, we've got demo day coming up in this September, and it'd be really exciting for you to, I suppose, talk about Betwixt and My Monsters to the world. Until before then, and on that day and around this time, how can people get involved with making the success, or should we all just wait until the first iteration comes through and get ready to download it?
Anyone at any point can go onto our website and sign up to trial the beta. So
talk to us about anything. We are really keen to engage with researchers or psychologists or anyone who might be interested in something like this. And they could check out our website, which is betwixt.life. Very easy.
Yeah, researchers, developers, also psychologists, also designers, people in that sort of world. We are, there's so much we can do with the app, and we're looking forward to doing all those things. So anybody who's interested in any way, please feel free to reach out. And if you just want to play the game, you can do that by clicking on the access the beta button on our website. Yeah, betwixt.life.
Awesome. Well, that's all very exciting. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's been really interesting learning about it.
You too. Thanks so much.